what's meant for us can't miss us. But also we need to talk about the fact that we cannot rush or escape or skip the necessity to take the time to discover our sovereignty, to reclaim our autonomy, to go on the journey and the pursuit of devoting to ourselves and excavating and exploring and getting curious, to reclaim and empower and enable the emergence of the aspects of ourselves that have been exiled, that have been repressed, wounded, the expression that we've never been allowed, how we've been exploited, how we've been wounded, how we've been traumatized. And we cannot skip the time where we need to slow down, take a step back, take a rest, where we need to audit, where we need to take time to consider, observe, analyze ourselves, our thoughts, our lives, what we want, what has happened, the wounds, the root of reactions and symptoms and patterns, and also what we want out of our life, what we want from our life, what we want to do, what we want to be, the impact we want to make. And by doing this, we are going to trigger and need to reveal, need to expose where we are feeling deficient or inadequate, where we're wounded, where we're unexpressed, where we require integration of aspects of ourself, our brain, our psyches, our psychology, somatically, subconsciously, in order to be a whole individual. We need to recognize, what do we associate and identify ourselves with? What do we define ourselves as? The characteristics, association with pain and chaos, association with, how do we associate to love, money, work, the world, our worth, our impact? How do we associate with our own expression, our creativity, our sensuality, our sensitivity, our expression in the world? How do we associate with our own spirituality, our own callings? How do we hide? How do we deflect? How do we avoid? How do we protect parts of ourselves by hiding those parts of ourselves? And how are we wounded and fragmented? And how are we living and suffering because of those aspects of ourselves that needed to be hidden, but that now are begging to be integrated? So we actually can block our blessings, but what is meant for us can't miss us if we are willing to do the work, the unraveling. Not needing to know or figure out what's going to happen, not needing stability or clarity, truly living on faith, truly living on intuition, truly getting curious, allowing ourselves to consciously challenge beliefs, thoughts, patterns, systems, structures in our minds and in the physical world and in reality, and dynamics and interpersonal relationships. Allow ourselves to have insight and introspection and challenge corrupt dynamics and patterns in all of these aspects of our lives. That's how to be an advocate. That's how to be an activist, and for humanitarian reasons, for the environment, for spirituality, for the new earth, for the change you want to see, for being love and instead of division. It starts within ourselves. The rupture and the collapse in the world is a mirror of what's going on within ourselves. All of this is a product of how divided we are from ourselves, from spirit, from nature, from creativity, from sensuality, from communication, from the safety of being vulnerable and intimate, from being connected to one another, from being connected to ourselves, from being fully expressed, from dancing, from singing, from laughing, from exploring our psyches. The corruption in the world is a greater outward expression of the corruption and the fragmentation we're all feeling within ourselves to a degree. And we cannot rush past the time that we have to take a break, to take space, to take a step back, to separate, to allow for the dismantling, allow for the rupturing, allow for the collapse, allow ourselves to be in the cocoon and be the goo, and also do this shift and transform into the butterfly to emerge. We have to allow ourselves to take a step back from what we used to associate and identify ourselves with in order to be able to challenge it and reassociate and start to acclimate ourselves to a new association, a new identity, a new level of love and receptivity and expression in the world. There's avoidance, there's denial, there's oversharing, there's overworking, there's over-explaining, there's begging and never, for other people's attention and external validation. There's having no boundaries, unestablished boundaries, always crossing our own boundaries. So it creates resentment and contempt and tension in our body and chronic pain and illness. It can create martyring and overgiving for others. It can create performance and trying to earn love and validation and all these things. We need to embrace and empower ourselves and equip ourselves to enable and reinforce ourselves to have the understanding that we are equipped and strong enough and able and worthy enough and good enough to not only feel our feelings to the fullest, because I know we're afraid that our feelings, if we fully felt it, our shame, our grief, our sorrow, or if we fully express ourselves, we're afraid we'd be rejected, we're afraid we'd be denied, we're afraid we'd be ridiculed or ostracized, or we're afraid that the grief, the immense pain would consume us and kill us. But we need to realize we are strong enough to feel it because there is wisdom. There is ancient, wise, sacred wisdom in every thought and every feeling and every experience. And we are here to be. We are here to feel. We are psychological and somatic spiritual beings for a reason. We're not just here to work and pay taxes and get in debt and earn others' validation and conform and live in constriction and dilution and fragmentation. We are not here to be minimized. And it doesn't serve anyone except the oppressors for us to be the minimized, diluted, fragmented, wounded version of ourselves. And even our wounds are our path. They are wisdoms. They are wands for wisdom to bring us to emergence through collapse, through dismantling, through burning away, through the tower moment of all that we once knew, through the breaking down of false systems of belief, of paradigms, patterns in our lives that were ancestral, that are epigenetic, that are societal, that are visceral, that have been connected to the overarching systems in the world that have benefited from our dilution and our separation, our minimization of our magic as conscious spiritual beings, and our critical thinking. So it is important as part of the resistance and part of a revolution, part of your own reclamation, rewilding, healing, integration, your own true, most good or righteous or beneficial and nurturing and nourishing path that is not entitled, it's not audacious, it's not wrong, it's not selfish, is going to be the path of facing those blockages, taking care of yourself, facing the inadequacies, deficiencies that come up, the perceived inadequacies and deficiencies, how you tell yourself you're wrong, bad, shameful, entitled, audacious, and reclaiming and shifting those labels and those identities by excavating to the root, getting to the root of how they were caused in our life, who told us what, the conditioning, the indoctrination that we were exposed to, the trauma, and we are the alchemist. We are not the victim, and we want to focus on our alchemy so that we don't become the villain, because the victims do become villains if they don't take accountability and responsibility for the fact that as spiritual beings, we are empowered to take responsibility for our lives, even though at a time we were victims of someone else's villainhood. But now we can reclaim and integrate and employ and enable our autonomy and our ability to have sovereignty and to nurture and nourish our gifts and our talents, our own sacred being, in order to present ourselves and operate in the world from our most empowered self, enabling our greatest ability to provide our greatest contribution to the conscious collective of humanity, the world, Earth, Gaia, Mother Nature. So we can't rush a process. It really is about the journey, not the destination. And we've got to embrace the process as the gift that it is. And you are strong enough to face it. You are strong enough to face your shadow and the hidden aspects of yourself that once as a child your ego had to hide, had to sacrifice, had to compromise, had to change in order to keep you safe, in order to keep you in connection. Now you are going to only be in connection with yourself, with nature, with other people, with your highest path, with who is going to support you and love you for you, by nurturing and empowering and enabling the emergence and the reclamation of the exiled, of the exploited, of the repressed expression, the unresolved wounds. So that is the magic. You are right where you need to be. That we are right where we need to be. There's no need to rush. You can't rush your healing. And really, it's a beautiful journey if you allow yourself to embrace it and appreciate even the hardships and the turmoil and the trials and tribulations, because there is such sacred wisdom that you can extract from it if you allow yourself to get curious, compassionate, and give yourself grace through the process so that you can extract the medicine, the lessons, the wisdom, and the blessings from all your experiences here.